Awesome. Okay. So, Asher, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about Slayers. I watched it yesterday, and oh my gosh, I really loved it. And I love the fact that the victims are social media influencers, because I feel like with that entitlement, they need to be those victims. So thank you so much for making this.
Yeah, there's been a lot of movies that are like influencer horror movies where the influencers are the heroes. This is not that movie at all. Because a lot of the movie, the thematically is about sort of the vampiric elements of media, digital media specifically, and sort of our obsession with commerce and consumption and our lack of trust in all things based on the fact that we get our news from half-naked girls and guys who do party tricks and little kids who do pranks and unboxing videos. I mean, that's sadly where we are right now as a society, and we've seen what has happened from that, which is like riots in the streets and rampant crime. Exactly. Maybe if we turned off our devices and started to read or watch proper news sources, we would have a better perspective on reality.
Exactly. And like you mentioned, the whole vampiric state of it, I'm guessing that's why you made these guys vampires.
Yep. They are
vampires.
Media vampires 100%. Yeah.
That's awesome. And that's what I really loved about it. And I felt like earlier this year, we did have another influence horror film in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the new one, where the victims were also like influencers. And, the bus scene is unforgettable, where he just like, they talked about cancel culture and he ended up canceling them in their own prolific way. But I feel like that's gonna become a trend eventually, where the influencers are gonna be like more victimized, like more.
I guess I hadn't. Obviously, you make movies in a vacuum, sort of. I mean, even the vaccine element of this film was crafted by myself and my writing partner before the pandemic. So obviously, once we were filming and we were filming in the middle of the pandemic, we understood that we could sort of ramp it up a little bit. And some of the stuff that Elliot says in the trailer, is stuff that we riffed on a little bit more, knowing where we were as a society. But it's super fun to talk to people who really love the movie. And I can kind of tell when I've done a few of these interviews now. And I think that there's a very specific, I hope there's a very specific group of people that understand what I'm going for here and how much fun it is to watch the movie.
It is, and the cast is amazing. Thomas Jane was just hysterical in this. This has to be one of his most fun roles.
I like to say, I just want my favorite, and I've done a few with him already. If people who love Thomas Jane, this will be like their new favorite movie. He's just really showing it all here.
It's already mine with him. This has got to be my new favorite movie with him. Because
I love it.
Just the way he just presents himself, and even his narrations throughout the film, giving us like how to defeat the vampires, and the whole historical references he brings up, like, Jack the Ripper was a vampire. Bram Stoker.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that, because that was never, I don't think I've ever heard that ever before on screen.
Yeah.
You riffed it. I think that was brilliant.
We had a lot of fun with that. The Donna Summers thing and the Jack the Ripper thing, and then the DB Cooper thing, and we had a lot of fun with all these funny stories. My editors and I just kind of, once we got into the room and started crafting the editorial element of this film, it was sort of the addiction of more for me, because I'm there with my editors, and it was really going to be only a couple of them. And we did one. I did Thomas Jane's voiceover in a very crass way. I have a pretty funny impersonation of him. So I temped it in. And then we threw it over to this really bright young kid, Chris, who was in their office that did a lot of digital, so a lot of graphic design stuff. And then they kicked it back to us. It was this sequence where he's talking about face tuning. They're driving out to the, into the desert. It's one of my favorite sequences. Yeah. And I saw it and I go, okay, we got to do like 20 of these in the movie. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, we got to deliver this movie. I go, no. This is the movie right here. This is the movie. We have all this other stuff, but the movie is really this. And so we got to make sure that the whole movie operates on this frequency. And so even when we don't have the breakout scenes that we have, and I believe there's like 15 in the movie, the rest of the movie still kind of runs at that same speed. And we wanted to make sure to keep adding, and then just kept add gags here, add this reference, add this thing. And what's cool is it becomes, it became a very unique film. I think that it was a cool movie. And there was a cool movie that I shot, and then there was a completely unique vision that I ended with. And they're both kind of different. And so it's great to see that this unique thing that we created has been embraced a little bit so far. And
what I really liked about the film also was Kara's character, because she was the one who was, even though she's this gamer, she has the smarts, knowing that this is too good to be true. This is a bad thing. And then of course her brother is, influenced by Lydia's character. And I love that fact where once Kara and Thomas teamed up, I was like, all right, this is gonna be now this is gonna be a lot of fun. And it was like, and then Malin, I gotta tell you, man, I love it when she plays bad guys, seeing her in Rampage, and then now this is a vampire. Like she could play any type of role and it elevates it. And she did a great job in this film as well.
Yeah, Malin is one of my close family friends. And Jack, who plays Jack, is her husband in real life. And they're a blast, and I love hanging out with Malin, but she couldn't be more different than that role. She is the most fun person, and she loves to have a good time, and her kid's awesome. Our kids play together, I've literally known her for 15 years. And Abigail's fantastic in the movie too, and brings a really fun element to it. And I think that it's really fun that it's kind of not a big spoiler, but she's not in the movie for the whole time. And I think it's fun for people who are like, oh, Abigail Breslin, and
she made the most of it.
Star of the movie, and then she's not the star of the movie after a while.
She makes the most of it, though. She made the most of what
she does. Make the most of it, and honestly, that sequence is one of my favorite sequences in the film. And what's funny is that there was a more serious, I wouldn't say totally serious, but there was a more serious version of the first half of the film for a while. And that stable sequence was really fucking scary when we first did it.
Oh yeah.
And actually, it was really hard for us to make it funny. Like, we made it fun and cool and stuff in this version, but it was sort of hard to, because you can tell the bones there are so specifically like Hitchcock, the way that it's staged and everything. But it gets really gory really fast in that scene. And people have mentioned how gory that scene is. Yeah, it's pretty gory. And then the other sequence that was originally much different was the Elliot's backstory, his daughter's backstory, which was originally the opening of the film, and was sort of like felt like the opening of the movie Drive. It was super moody. There was a synth score. It was like, you don't really know what's happening yet. And I mean, I had always intended the movie to have a lot of fun and have humor around it. But I originally was like, oh, I still think that opening is fucking awesome. Yeah. But I love what we did with it this way too, because it's really funny, but also still looks kind of like a cool Fincher movie. It's very stylish, and it's sexy and it's cool,
Yeah, exactly. So, finally, what's next for you after this one? Because I mean, this was a wild ride. I mean, I really enjoyed this one, and I know. How you gonna follow this one up? How you gonna follow this up? That's the question.
I have a movie. I have a movie that I made that came out a couple of weeks ago. That was a very different film called Dig. It's a crime thriller in the desert. And then I have a mystery comedy that's coming out early next year. That is, I would say, just as campy as Slayers. But much more of a sort of like Clue, really funny, a bunch of really funny people in it. My buddy Emil, who I did Dig with, and I'm doing another movie with now. Annabelle Dexter-Jones, who's in Slayer. Who's in Succession. Tyrese and Tyrese Gibson. Who else is in it? Dylan Galula, a bunch of just really funny people. So I have that, and then I'm actually in prep right now in New Mexico again for a bank robbery movie that we're announcing soon.
Oh, nice.
But don't worry, guys, because after I'm done with this bank robbery movie, I have 2 different horror films that I'm working on right now, script-wise, and they are definitely much closer to Slayers. And if you guys all go see this movie, I do have an idea for the sequel.
I was
And
gonna say, I hope there's got to be like some sort of sequel to this.
I have a really fun idea for a sequel, and we also have some ideas for maybe some stuff in the graphic novel world with this, and really building out the mythology. Yeah.
Well, I work in a library, so I'll make sure if that graphic novel comes out, I'm getting it for a year. So that'd be perfect.
Man, awesome.
All right. Well, thank you again. Slayers is coming out October 21st. Everyone's gonna have a wild time with this. I hope they do. And Asher, thank you again so much for taking the time to talk about it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, y'all take care.
Yep.